So in Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah, we have come to the part where the author speaks about the conditions of any of the ma'mum must be behind the back of the feet of the imam. This is basically what the author is saying. So this is the minimum requirement. So when we are praying while standing, we look at the back of the feet of the imam. So that is the line. But if the imam is praying sitting down, then it is the back of his the back of his back, meaning the lower part of the back. Clear, inshallah. And imagine a person, if the imam is sitting down, the imam is sitting down. So where is the line now? Now the line differs. When he is standing, we say it is the back of the feet. But when he's sitting down, it is the back of his buttocks, the back of the lower part of his body. This is the meaning of Ilya. He said, "Aw bi ilyatihi." Ilya is the lower part of the body, which we usually sometimes we use the word buttocks. Sawahu here meaning exactly the same line and exactly the same spot. And imagine a person, the ma'mum, when he prays behind the imam. The imam is praying, and the back of the feet is the same as the back of the feet as the ma'mum. So this is makruh. This is makruh. The ma'mum will not get fadilatul jama'ah. That's the thing. But the prayer is valid. But if the feet of the imam is in front of the ma'mum, then the prayer is not valid. وَيُنْدَبُ تَخَلُّفُ عَنْهُ قَلِيلًا. So what is sunnah? The author mentioned the ma'mum must go back further up. Must go back further up. So imagine if a person is praying, two person is praying, one imam and one ma'mum. We mentioned the minimum requirement is that the back of the feet of the ma'mum must be behind the back of the feet of the imam. This is the minimum requirement. But what is the sunnah? The sunnah is the front feet of the ma'mum is at the back feet of the imam. The front feet of the ma'mum is at the back feet of the imam. So this is the sunnah. And this is with regards if a person is praying, two person is praying, imam and ma'mum. But of course, when the imam, the ma'mum, two persons and more, so they must stand behind him. Tamam? They must stand behind him. So here the author mentioned وَيُنْدَبُ تَخَلُّفُ عَنْهُ قَلِيلًا. Why it is sunnah to move further up, so that you do not get into a situation where your feet might be in front of the imam. So sometimes when you just stand behind the imam, sometimes when the imam goes up, what happens? There is a change in your stance. There is a possibility that you become in front of the feet of the imam. Then your prayer becomes invalid. So that is why it is a sunnah to move back further up. So you do not fall into this issue of your prayers becoming invalid. وَيَقِفُ ذَكَرُ عَنْ يَمِينِهِ. So when a person, a male, the man will stand behind on the right side. This pertaining to, there is one imam, there is one ma'mum. It's what we understood. That the ma'mum stands at the right side of the imam. فَإِنْ جَاءَ آخَرْ فَعَنْ يَسَارِهِ. If there is a third person who comes, so now the ma'mum is two person. So the ma'mum stands on the left side. ثُمَّ يَتَقَدَّمُ الْإِمَامُ أَوْ يَتَأَخَّرَانِ وَهُوَ أَفْضَلُ. So there are two situations now. So now when you imagine two persons is praying, one imam, one ma'mum. The third person comes. So the third person moves to the left of the imam. When the third person enters into prayer, when he moves into the left of the imam, so the jama'ah, now this jama'ah is left with two options. Option number one, yataqaddamul imam. Imam goes to the front. Imam make a few steps to the front. And the ma'mum stand side by side. This is the first option. The second option, the imam stays where he is. But the two ma'mum goes back. The two ma'mum goes back and form a saf behind the imam. Wa huwa afdal. This is what the author is saying. This is better. This is the preferred option. That is option number. A person to pray jama'ah, they make a saf behind him. All this straightforward. That's what the author mentioned. وَكَذَا الْمَرْأَةُ أَوِ النِّسْوَةِ. Likewise, when it comes to woman. Woman. Imam is a woman. Ma'mum is a woman. So same thing. The ma'mum stand on the right side. The first ma'mum stand on the right side. The third person comes. Third person goes into the left side. Both of them move behind. when they want to do a jama'ah together, both of them and make any asaf any behind this any in our mosques. And for example, if there is any a child, of course a child here meaning mumayyiz and not sabi, because sabi it is not permissible any to put what you call it sabi in the middle any of the saf. So usually when comes any to children and who have not, then they are more deserving any to get the first saf. Tamam. So here and you just take note, what the author is referring to any is mumayyiz. So there is a difference any between mumayyiz and non-mumayyiz. Summa al-khunasa, summa an-nisa. And then we have any the khunsa. Khunsa is basically any person who has to a person who has to this private parts. Khunsa is a person who has two any private parts. So this kind of person we put them after the children. Then summa an-nisa, then woman. So this is the order. Basically the author is saying al-rijal, al-sibyan, and then al-khunsa, and then an-nisa. The last part is the saf for the woman. Then he explained about the jama'ah of the woman. That's what I mentioned earlier. There is a difference between jama'ah of the woman and jama'ah of the man with regards to where the ma'mum stands. So he said, وَتَقِفُ إِمَامَتُهُنَّ وَسَطَهُنَّ. So now imagine there is a jama'ah, woman praying. So the imam stands in the middle, and then the woman stand just behind the imam. Just behind the imam. They do not make any saf as per normal as the man. But the asaf is just behind 1 feet behind the back feet of the imam. 1 feet behind the back feet of the imam. Wa imamul urati raygul mastur wasatahum. Likewise, imamul ura. Imamul ura meaning jama'ah, all of them are naked. All of them are naked. The imam and the jama'ah. So it is not a sunnah that we make this kind of imam to stand in front of us, because why? We will look at his aura. We will look at his aura. So where does this imam stand? The imam stand in the middle. The ma'mum just stand a bit behind the imam, just like when we speak about the jama'ah of the woman. Wa yukrahu wuqufuhu munfaridan an saf, and it is makruh. It is makruh that a person stands alone in the saf. It is makruh that a person stands alone in the saf. What does it mean? Imagine when a person enters into the mosque and he sees that the first saf is full. It is makruh for him to stand alone in the second saf. So what does he do? This is what the author mentioned after this. Basically he said he has to pull one ma'mum. He has to pull one ma'mum. So in our madhab al-Imam Shaykh, just take note, we say it is makruh. Makruh, remember, every makruh with regards to jama'ah prayers, meaning a person does not get fadilatul jama'ah. A person does not get fadilatul jama'ah. Meaning if a person stands by himself in the second saf, for example, he does not get fadilatul jama'ah, but his prayer is valid, but his action is makruh. Prayer is valid, action is makruh. طيب, what does he do? He said, فَإِلَّمْ يَجِدْ سَعَةً أَحْرَمَ ثُمَّ جَرَّ وَاحِدًا. He doesn't find anyone in the saf. He is alone in the saf. So what does he do? He said, أَحْرَمَ. Now he does takbiratul ihram first. Now the author is teaching us how to pull people. How we pull people. You see, there is common mistake in our society. Imagine for example, let me just give a simple example that always occur. Imagine you enter the masjid. You enter the masjid and you see 2 persons praying, imam, ma'mum. The normal way that people enter into this kind of prayer is that they will tap first, correct or not? And before they do takbir, they tap the ma'mum. Now this is wrong. This is a mistake. The correct way is that we do takbiratul ihram first, then we tap. Takbiratul ihram first, then we tap. Sometimes there is no need for us to tap, because you see, when we possess this understanding, if you are the ma'mum and you know the third person is coming, that's what the author mentioned, there is no need to tap. Actually, it must be understood. If somebody, third person comes, the second person, which is the ma'mum, it must be understood that you have to move behind. So there is no need for us to be tapped and then only we move behind. This thing and it should be something and that must be understood by everyone. It must be understood by everyone. But sometimes people do not know. So they need to be tapped and then only they move. They need to be tapped. That should not be the case. So sometimes when you boom to the left, and for example you talk about Allahu Akbar, and then you find this ma'mum and it doesn't and it goes back. So usually what we do we tap this person and to tell this person, Ya akhi, and you have to move back. I am praying and behind. We give this what you call it way of tapping him and to tell him. Then this person will move behind. So the correct way is to ihram first, then tap. Some people might be asking why ihram first and then tap. You see, if you do not do ihram first, what happens when you tap him? Now you are putting him in a difficult position. He moves back and you have not even do takbiratul ihram. So now you are putting him in a position that he's praying alone and in saf. So he is doing something that is makruh and you are the fault. You are the fault. In the mazhab Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, and just take note, the prayer becomes invalidated automatically. Because in the mazhab, Hanbali madhab, if a ma'mum prays alone and in saf, the prayer becomes invalid. The prayer becomes invalid. Now, madhab Imam Shafi'i and alhamdulillah, at least we say, you have done something that is makruh, you do not get fadilatul jama'ah. That's all. But you get fadilatul jama'ah after the ihram of the second person. Then you only you get fadilatul jama'ah. So this is the thing that you have to understand. So whenever we want to enter into prayer, remember we have to takbir first, then we pull. Takbir first, then tap. Not tap and then takbir. So takbir, then tap. Takbir, then pull. Here the author is speaking about pulling. The way you're pulling. So he said ahrama summa jara. See what the author is saying. Ahrama summa jara. And he didn't say jara summa ahrama. Jara here meaning to pull. But pulling here we have to understand, not pulling, hard pulling. It is just a tap. It is just a tap. Because this is the thing also we have to understand. When people are praying and never pull away their body to such an extent that the body will go away from the Qibla. Because if you are praying, if a person pulls you on one side, hardly, what happens? Your body will face away from the Qibla. This is something that cannot be done. It is not any permissible. It is not any permissible that you to have hard pulling. You are inflicting harm towards people. You are, because of you, people lose their khushu. You will create any shock in people. Remember, this is not permissible. So it has to be gentle. He has to be in a way where we ask ourselves, how do we want us to be pulled? How do you like any people to pull you or to tap on you? So usually we just do a slight touch, so that we do not make people in shock, especially nowadays because people do not know this. Sometimes when they are praying you tap on them, they might be thinking why this person is tapping on me. Imagine nowadays if a person is praying in the first half and suddenly they find somebody tap on them, they might be thinking a few possibilities. Why this person is tapping on me? Is this person playing, or is this person trying to tell me that my money fell off? Some people, when they do not understand they will be thinking possibilities. What is happening? What is happening? Or the person who is behind is playing with me. Maybe there is a child who's trying to play around with me, for example. So when we do takbir, people will know, there is a person behind me who has entered into prayer, and then when he is tapped, for example, he knows that this is for the purpose of B coming behind. B coming behind. So this is the way. So he said, فَإِن لَمْ يَجِدْ سَاعَةً أَهْرَمَ ثُمَّ جَرَ وَاحِدًا وَيُنْدَبُ أَنْ يُسَاعِدَهُ الْمَجْرُورِ. the person who is pulled, sunnah for him to help, yusa'id. Help here meaning what? Go back behind. So that inshallah ta'ala, because of you will be rewarded. Because of you, this person get fadilatul jama'ah. Because of you, this person gets fadilatul jama'ah. But the problem is, in our society, normally people do not go back. Based on experience, when we pull people, there are people who doesn't understand. They will just keep quiet all the way. So end up this miskin behind one person. No choice. So that is why our ulama yani mentioned it is a sunnah when we pull people always look at the situation and your people. And if you see mashallah a person whom you know and you know that this friend of yours and he knows this ruling, okay khalas, and you pull this person. Or you find mashallah the Bilal, the muazzin, a person and he possess knowledge and knows about this, you pull the muazzin. So do not pull a person whom you are skeptical. For example, you see a person whom you suspect he might not know this ruling for example. So it is better to avoid coming into a situation where it can lead to some problems at times. This is mentioned by some of ulama that we have to look at the situation of the one who is at the one who is pulled. And then he mentioned the second condition, Ashartu Thani, أن يعلم بانتقالات إمامه برؤية أو سماع ولو من مبلغ. This is important. When we are praying in Jama'ah, the Ma'mum has to know the movements of the Imam. So knowing the movements of the Imam, either we see the Imam or we hear him. Even min muballigh. Muballigh is a person who conveys the takbir. Last time there is no speaker. So what happened was, if the Imam do takbir, somebody in the middle of the Jama'ah will do takbir loudly, so that people behind will listen. Because sometimes if the voice of the Imam is weak, then the people behind might not know where is the Imam now. So by having muballigh, the people behind will know that the Imam is doing wuku. Sami Allahu liman hamida, the Imam is doing any i'tidal. So because of the muballigh. Nowadays when there is speaker, we are not in need of muballigh. We are not in need of muballigh. So sometimes the mistake that happens in our society, the Imam is using microphone, the Bilal is also using microphone. So the Imam says Sami Allahu liman hamida, and the takbir of the Imam mashallah can be heard even outside the masjid. But the Bilal also Sami Allah liman hamida. The Imam say Allahu Akbar, the Bilal said Allahu Akbar. This is not correct. If both the Imam and the Bilal is doing any microphone. So when does muballigh comes into place? When people behind cannot hear the voice of the Imam. This can happen if the microphone becomes faulty. At times the microphone becomes faulty. Even in our masjid last time, in Jumu'ah prayers, there is a blackout. Something happened, and then the mic goes off. The mic goes off. So what happens? MashaAllah, in our masjid, there are 10 muballigh, about 10 and 12 people, Imam do the takbir, automatically there will be people behind who will recite the takbir loudly. So that any people behind knows that the Imam is doing the sujood, the Imam is doing ruku, and so on and so forth. So bi ru'yatin aw sama'in, either we see or by hearing. Walau min muballighin, even from the muballigh. This is the second condition. The third condition is Ashartu Thalis an yajtami'a fi masjidin. Okay, this is a thing, what you call it, that we need to have some concentration. So the author mentioned now there is a difference between Jama'ah in masjid and outside masjid. So before we continue, we need to understand the masjid that is referred to here is the masjid where it is a place where there is endowment for prayers. Endowment for prayers. Waqaf for prayers. Waqaf for prayers. Because there is a difference between masjid and musalla. Masjid and musalla. Imagine if I buy land and I turn it into a musalla, but I do not make the intention of waqaf for masjid. What happens? After 2 years, I can demolish this place and build a house. But it's different if I make waqaf. I make waqaf this land is specifically waqaf for masjid. Now khalas, if anything happens, you cannot build anything else. Because now it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Muslims. So this is an example, we say waqaf for the building of masjid. So now the author is going to speak about performing Jama'ah prayers in masjid and outside masjid. So there are two different rulings. Inshallah, next week we will speak about this before we continue to the next part. Wallahu a'lam bis-shawab. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.